That looks sick. Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Turbo Tyler YouTube channel. Don't worry, this is Turbo Tyler. You might be a bit confused because this car isn't orange and it's not a piece of shit. If you guys have been following the channel for a little while, you'll have seen that I used to own a Mark II Focus ST. That was the main car on the channel and I did loads of work to that thing. But after a while, I always get bored of my cars, and then also I was spending so much money on that, and for the amount of power it was and how fast it was, you can buy one of these which is much more popular and much cheaper, but also more unreliable. Let's have a talk about it. So for those who don't know, this is a Gen 1 Mazda Speed MPS, Mazda 3 Speed. It's called a few different things around the world. I just call it an MPS. This is the first generation. It is a 6-speed manual, 2.3 litre turbo, front wheel drive. So similar to sort of the other sort of hot hatches I've had a few sort of front wheel drive turbo hatches. But this one is pretty cool because these put out loads of power from stock. So let's have a look under here. This is where it starts to get a bit tatty, by the way, under here. So just allow me, because I've just bought it yesterday. So what we've got is a 2.3 litre turbocharged engine. From factory, these put out 263 brake horsepower, but this one's had a little bit of spice. It's got a few little mods which we'll talk about. Torque wise, I'll put that on the screen because I can't remember it. But yeah, these things are pretty unique because they put out quite a little bit of power from factory. Like my Focus stock was 225 horsepower. A Golf GTI that I had, Mark V, that's 197. So if you're looking for a sort of 2-ish litre front wheel drive hatch, these kind of make sense because they're easily the most powerful. And with tuning, you can see over 340 brake on these quite easily. It's also a 6-speed manual mated to a factory LSD. So specs wise, it's pretty stacked. I think the interior on these is real nice as well. You've got these factory, not bucket seats, but the sports seats, the Mazda Speed seats. Yeah, nice interior, got a 6-speed manual. The gearbox is awesome. The shift, this hasn't got a short shifter or anything, but the gearbox in it's real nice. Yeah, nice steering wheel, got some steering wheel controls, quite fancy for me. Central speedometer and the tachometer. This one's got a Bluetooth radio, which is quite nice, but other than that, it's pretty stock. But for this is a 2007. It's done 146,000 Ks, and the interior is basically mint. Like the seat bolsters are all fine, the roof lining's not sagging. So yeah, I mean, for the age of the car, it's pretty mint. I think the styling on these cars is pretty cool as well. You got a big spoiler at the back from factory, a nice little sort of rear diffuser thing going on here, and this one's got a aftermarket exhaust. So it's got a nice big like Jap style fart cannon on the back as well, which I think is pretty cool. The styling's a lot more subtle than the Focus, but I quite like it. The bonnet, because it's got that top mount intercoolers, it's got a huge bulge in the bonnet at the front as well. Looks pretty cool. So yeah, it's kind of like looks awesome, got good power, nice interior and everything. So why aren't these more popular? They're pretty popular here in New Zealand, but around the world, why aren't they as popular? One of the reasons, I think, is this engine. Whilst it makes a lot more power than the other cars in its category, it's not known for being the most reliable. It's not as bad as something like a Subaru, but they do suffer with a few issues. One of the more pressing matters is timing chain stretch. They are known to have stretched timing chains, VVT issues, high pressure fuel pump failure, stuff like that. And then one of the other sort of flaws with this car is torque steer. Even though it doesn't have that much torque, just the way the chassis is set up or whatever, it just torque steers like crazy. It's fun, like I quite like it, but yeah, second gear, the torque steer is pretty bad. So those are a few sort of niggly downsides of it. But other than that, I've only had it a day. I bought this last night, but I'm really enjoying it. It's faster than the Focus, and I'll tell you about what sort of mods it's got now real quick. We're sacked on some Super Kings lowering springs or J-Max lowering springs. 90% sure on the brand, but it is pretty low for lowering springs. Like we've got just a bit of a 2-finger gap there. And these wheels are actually off a Mitsubishi Evo 10. So these are Evo 10 wheels with some lovely aftermarket curbing on them. Like I mentioned before as well, it has an aftermarket exhaust. It's just a 3-inch custom exhaust. Looks like a bit of a cheapo job, started to rust a little bit. But even though it's a 3-inch, it's actually pretty quiet, but still loud enough for like being nice to daily drive and stuff. And performance mods wise, we've got a custom intake. I don't know if it's a 3-inch intake, but it's a custom intake. We've got some upgraded charge pipes, it looks like. So silicon charge pipes on the front and rear. We've got a Turbo Smart plumb back blow-off valve. upgraded rear motor mount, and performance-wise, I believe that's it. This thing is tuned by a company called Cyborg. They're like the #1 MPS tuners in New Zealand. Basically, MPS here, every MPS here is tuned by Cyborg, and it's a stage 1 because it hasn't got a downpipe or anything. But it's a road tune, so not 100% sure on exact power figures. But with these mods and stuff, it should be at least 280 brake. So it's probably the second fastest car I've owned, to be fair, other than that I had a Pirelli, which is faster. But yeah, so about 280 brake horsepower. It has launch control and pops and bangs, but it's not, I haven't tried the launch control, and the pops and bangs aren't even aggressive at all. Like, you can barely even hear it. So yeah, it's pretty suited for daily driving. Like, it's a performance hatch, but not as Asbo as the Focus, not so over the top. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. It does need tidying up. There are a few things that we need to do, but we're going to sort those out on the channel throughout the course of this sort of video series, a bit like I did with the Focus. But for now, let's quickly switch it on and go for a little bit of a drive. So, out in the MPS, one of the other things I forgot to mention is I'm pretty sure this thing's got an upgraded clutch, because it's pretty heavy. But what does it go like? Well, goes pretty good. First gear and second gear, like I said, it spins and there's a lot of torque steer, so it's pretty hard to put the power down. But once you get into third, this thing picks up. It's actually got some factory thing where power is limited in first and second, so third gear is where you get your full power anyway. But yeah, that when you get into third, that's when it starts to go. Steering's real nice. I quite like the steering. We do get a little bit of rub on the arches from the tyres because it's quite low, so I might end up looking at maybe rolling them a little bit more than they already are. But yeah, handling's pretty nice so far. The gearbox is good. I'm not sure how good the tyres are. They got plenty of tread, but I've never heard of the brand, so that's probably why we're getting quite a little bit of wheel spin here. But I do have a spare set of tyres that were going to go on the Focus, which I can probably put on this. But it is pretty wet outside today. But when it grips up, it goes. I don't know, I mean, it's weird because I'm looking at the speedo and I'm like, okay, this thing's definitely faster than the Focus, but the Focus felt a little bit more torquey. Hopefully you can pick that blow-off valve up on camera as well, because it's got a nice blow-off valve. Not a vent to atmosphere, so it's not too ridiculous. But no, I think this is a real cool car. I think it's going to be good for the channel, going to be good for me to be able to daily drive it as well. Not a full dedicated track car like the Focus was. But I still want to do the track days and stuff like that with this. But I think what we're going to do is end the video here. You guys will have to tune in for the next one. To start with, we're just going to be trying to clean this thing up, like polishing the headlights, going over the engine bay, jacking it up, just giving it a sort of full inspection and service underneath. And then we're going to start doing some mods like the high pressure fuel pump, front mount intercooler, all that good stuff. So make sure you guys stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. That looks sick.